quick Q&A. Why is Vladimir Putin staying till 2036? Why is he extending his reign? Well, he is extending his room for maneuver a few years from now by expanding and rearranging the way the court around him works. What's his motivation psychologically? Well, that's a very long story, but I think I want to, off the top of my head, mention three things. First of all, he isn't secure about leaving power. He doesn't think that it could be safe. Either safe for him or safe for the people who he needs to be safe when he's out of power. So there isn't a clear exit strategy for him, number one. Number two, he has a certain kind of a sense of mission. And that sense of mission is both about what happens in Russia, but also about what happens abroad, what Russia does outside of its borders. Now, that's so steeped in kind of self-created myth that it's hard to talk about it, particularly for an outsider looking in from the West. Putin has a view of his own population that is both mythologized but also out of date. He is in many ways stuck in the past being his own reign, but many years back from now. His image of what's happening in the West is confused and caricatural. In some ways, he got it right about the destabilization of democratic institutions in the West, but what he got wrong was his thought that the institutions before they got destabilized weren't really what they seemed to be. They were just a kind of facade. He also has a view of Russia's past, including a view of Russia's relatively distant past, the period of the Tsars, that is really an expression of a kind of limitedly informed and perverse self-created mythology. His view of the Tsars he admires most, particularly his view of Alex III, the Tsar he admires most, is no more connected with reality than his view of what the Russian population is like, or his view of what's going on in the external world around him. So what's a good metaphor for all of this? Well, from outside, we tend to think that if there's a train that's Russia, Putin is driving it. And I think that may have been true a few years ago. Now it's an exaggeration and an overestimation of Putin's power to say that he is driving the train. I think it's fair to say that he is sitting somewhere near the driver's seat and probably has as much power as any other individual, probably more than any other individual, but nowhere near as much power as he used to have. But his focus is less on driving the train than on repainting it, painting on it the name Putin. This is the Putin train. Then deciding that the label Putin needs to be redone in a different font or in a different color. So he is as much preoccupied with the surface appearance of the train as he is with, the matter of driving it. Is he driving it to any extent? Well, you might say that he is triangulating a messy process involving several people, and between all of them, somehow it ends up that the train gets driven. And then, of course, there is a third thing I wanted to mention, and I've forgotten what it is. Yeah, I think the third thing I wanted to say is just that there would be a general sense of confusion and dissatisfaction, and a sense of being hostage to the dynamics in which he finds himself. So this is much at odds with the typical image of Putin in the West. There is first of all personal safety. Secondly, there is kind of a certain sense of a mission diluted with all kinds of dream-like imagery, some of which is terribly disconnected from reality. And the third thing is a certain kind of feeling of being stuck. That's not just about being stuck in terms of one's personal safety. It's a sense of being stuck in terms of what he thinks is the right thing to do, ethically even. A certain sense of being stuck, in the sense that he thinks that much of the apparatus of the Russian state has ground to a halt, but him going, even if it were possible, which it isn't, wouldn't really help that and might make it worse. So on top of the fear for his own and his family's and other people's safety, on top of his sense of mission, there's also this feeling of being caught up and not really knowing how to play things. If you're catching this, tell me your thoughts, and of course, I really want you to like and subscribe, because that helps me grow my channel, and I really appreciate that. So comment, like, subscribe, and see you very soon. And I'm going to be doing a lot of Q&As. At the moment, any questions dropped on any social media platform, I will be answering for you in some detail.